Hello everyone, and thank you for attending our Meet FinTrU Technology Careers webinar. My name is Helen Muskimen, and I'm a Senior Vice President at FinTrU working within the Technology Department. The goal of this event today is to give you an insight into what a career within the Technology Department looks like at FinTrU. So please use the chat to submit any questions you might have, and we'll try and address them as we go through the audience Q&A session at the end of the panel. I'm going to start by just asking each of the panelists to give a brief introduction to themselves. So today we have our Chief Technology Officer, Emma Pollock, our Senior Engineering Manager, Andy Snowies, and Andrew Rosper, who is our Lead UX Designer. So Emma, turning to you first of all, can you introduce yourself and give a brief overview of your career and your first month at FinTrU?
Thanks, Helen, and thanks everyone for taking the time to join us today. As Helen said, my name is Emma Pollock and I have joined FinTrU on the 4th of January 2021, so just 5-6 weeks ago, as the Chief Technology Officer. My background is across lots of different domains in the technology area, in the technology space, from video streaming and IPTV through cloud storage and telco. But also significant experience in the capital market space and in the reg tech space as well. And I worked in lots of different kinds of companies, from startups and scale-ups through to large multinational corporates. And inside my first month at FinTrU, I've really been focused on getting to know everyone, getting to know the team. And I would like to say I've had a really, really great experience of joining remotely, and everyone's made me feel really, really welcome.
Thanks so much for that, Emma. And then Andy, over to you. Can you share a bit about yourself?
Sure, Helen. Hi, everyone. My name is Andy Snowies. I'm a Senior Engineering Manager at FinTrU. I've been with the company since 2019, nearing 15 years of experience in IT, software engineering, and management, where I've primarily focused on software systems integration, infrastructure deployments. My journey so far, I've been able to work with some of the leading global tech firms as well as local companies in Northern Ireland.
Thanks so much, Andy. And then Andrew, over to you in terms of your background and your time at FinTrU. Could you just tell us a bit about your experience?
Yeah, thanks, Helen. So I'm Andrew Rosborough. I'm user experience lead at FinTrU, and I joined last May during the first lockdown. My background is in design of all shapes and sizes, so industrial design, graphic design, software, brand strategy, you name it. I've done that. But I have a particular passion for startups and for innovation, and I've been involved in a number of startups as a founder, as an advisor, and as a design and product lead. And I've successfully launched a number of products that are currently being used around the world today in large global organizations.
Great, thank you so much. So Emma, as you mentioned, you joined FinTrU as Chief Technology Officer. Could you give us some insight into what lies ahead for FinTrU in terms of the technology strategy?
Absolutely, Helen. I think it's probably helpful here to start off with a little bit of context on FinTrU as an organisation, and also on what attracted me here to this role, because I think that's key to how I would articulate the technology strategy. I think the first thing is that FinTrU is a massively exciting company. It's a local company, but a company that has a global presence and is dealing with lots of tier 1 banks across all the world. It's a very forward-looking and a very ambitious organisation. And it's also an organisation which is winning awards and growing rapidly. And just some recent examples include being named on the Sunday Times Virgin Atlantic Fast Track 100 as one of the fastest growing companies in the UK. And also Andrew's story of joining during lockdown last year is one that's quite common actually for FinTrU employees, because we actually grew from 300 people last year to 700 people. So we've gone through massive expansion. And then one of the things as well that's really, really important for me about an organisation is the culture and values. And I think FinTrU not only has really great culture and values, but they're lived every day by every employee in the organisation. And that's created something that's really, really special. I think the second thing is that I find the reg tech space utterly fascinating, both from a business perspective and from a technology perspective. So as CTO, I'm responsible for all things technology inside the organisation. There are some really interesting problems in terms of our internal technology solutions, in terms of how the business is growing and scaling and what that means, even for, what kinds of productivity tools do we provide for all of our end users, what systems do we need in place for finance and HR. And then you've also got FinTru's move from being a services company to becoming a reg tech company and carrying out a pivot on the business model there. And what that really means is that we are building products in the KYC and AML spaces, and also looking at things like legal and surveillance. And those products are, I think, when you say KYC, sometimes people think, oh, well, that's all the forms I have to fill in when I open a bank account, and it is. But you can easily miss the bigger purpose there, which is that a lot of these regulations exist to keep fraud and criminal activity out of the global financial systems and protect them so that they can enable economic activity all over the world. And then the last piece I think that's really exciting here is that because technology is always moving quickly, when you put together that fast moving technology with such an interesting problem space, and then an exciting organization like FinTrU, I think there's just really, really great opportunity to build innovative products and solutions and take advantage of things like AI and machine learning, cloud, platform as a service, RPA, low code. And that really means that there's some exciting things that can be done in the technology space as well. And that kind of leads me to answer the question, apologies Helen, it was a bit long-winded, around our strategic priorities. And our strategic priorities as a technology organisation are, we are building a world-class team of technologists right here in Belfast. And that means all kinds of different things, from the people we hire, to the tools and technologies that we use, to the difficulty of the problems that we solve. And one of the things that's really exciting for us is that we have direct access to domain experts and business expertise in the problem space, both because of FinTru's work with these banks, but also because FinTrU has really, really close relationships with the clients, and that allows us to look at how we build things in partnership in a way that's maybe not possible always in other organisations. And we're going to take those things, build and deliver innovative solutions in the reg tech space. And I think that's just really, really exciting.
Wow, great. So there's a huge amount going on. Thanks so much, Emma. And then Andy, turning to you as our Senior Engineering Manager, what could developers and engineers expect should they join FinTrU?
Thank you, Helen. Great question. So what people can expect when they join FinTrU is a team dedicated to professional software engineering. So what I mean by that is we apply industry best practices across all layers of our engineering process. So firstly, when it comes to team composition and the engineering methodologies we apply, we adhere to agile principles across the board. So that means people can expect all predefined agile rules, processes, and ceremonies to be implemented and available to them when they join. What I guess is important to note here, beyond the textbook knowledge on agile, is that we have buy-in from across the business to apply these approaches. So that means we don't have to make critical compromises that would detract from applying best practices. Now, additionally, our development management team, to give you an example there, they all have an engineering background. So that really reinforces the concept that we can approach software development the right way and be successful in getting our solutions to market. Now, secondly, when it comes to the technologies our engineers use, we strive to foster a team that uses the right tool for the job at hand. So that means we do not try to stick to one vendor or technology, but rather looking at the development pipeline, apply what we conclude is the most appropriate technology for the problem at hand. To give you some concrete examples there, for example, use Python when it comes to DataWorks, React when it comes to prototyping, and so on and so forth. I guess the key here is to use industry relevant, stable technologies that scale well across the team, as well as having a long-term impact. That is also useful to the engineers because that increases their market value as well. Now to give some more concrete insight into the technologies we are currently using for anyone who would be interested in joining us, primarily we've been on a Microsoft stack so far. So that means that core, SQL Server, DevOps, and so on for the backend and the support services. When it comes to front end, so far we've preferred to apply Angular and React where they fit. Now, finally, when it comes to coding practices, we have the skills in-house as well as the team dedicated to organize and implement at an enterprise level. So that means our engineers are supported by a robust software development lifecycle, as well as having the architectural support to land the appropriate designs for the problem at hand. So what that really means is, for example, build a monolithic application if it's just a proof of concept, but if it's going to be a more larger scale solution, then apply microservice service architecture or something along those lines. To add to that, we do, the paradigms to enforce stability and scalability are ingrained into the software development lifecycle. So, the application of TDD or test automation for ongoing work, and for example, DDD for as a design approach, just to give you, a couple of concepts there of what we are working with on the day-to-day. Now, having said all that about how we engineer our solutions, a little bit about what we can see in our engineering pipeline. So that is part internal use as well as client-facing products. And this is something Emma has touched upon that is really useful to us. As a finance-first approach or finance-first company, we're in a unique position where we can tap into that wealth of knowledge on finance from across the business and beyond. So that does give us, in my view, a competitive advantage over technology-first approaches, and that allows us to work much more rapidly on advanced solutions. We don't have to, spend a lot of time on researching something that might not be as impacting as we want it to be. So far, what we've seen from gathering ideas from across the business are projects that have to do with distributed process optimization and optimization, as well as data-centric solutions that employ machine learning. So yeah, to wrap it up, we've got a young team that's scaling rapidly, and we have the backing of the entire company to do what is right and to apply those best practices. So yeah, a very exciting time to join us.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Andy. So, Andrew, moving to you now. Emma alluded to this earlier that you had actually joined FinTrU while we've been working from home. So maybe you could tell us a bit about that experience and maybe what FinTrU did and what the team did just to help you integrate it into the team and to make sure that you really felt part of it and were connected.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you join a new team, it's always a little bit daunting at first, but when you add into that, there isn't an office to go into, you can't meet your new colleagues in person. It's almost like you're taking away those safety barriers that you normally have to rely on to help you with a new job. But my experience with FinTrU is that because there's such an emphasis put on our people, we really care to make sure that your onboarding experience is as smooth as possible. So you're really taken through a very easygoing induction where you're taken through everything you could possibly want to know about the company. You get to meet some key senior leaders within the company. And in my induction, our CEO Dara dropped in just to welcome me to the company, which I think is fantastic with a company of this size, and that is something that he cares enough to do. And I think that filters throughout the company. You get regular check-ins on your first couple of weeks just to make sure you're settling in okay, if there's anything else that we can do to support you. And if you do find that remote working is particularly difficult or lonely, there are just so many community initiatives that you can get involved with. So there are different clubs. I've been involved with an art club, with a choir. There are exercise groups, so there's lunchtime yoga. There are different committees you can join and be involved in to sort of help shape the culture. So it really is a very people-focused organization, and you never feel too far away from somebody else. And I think what I've really enjoyed is getting to know people from across the business. So I think if we were in the office, I'd maybe just socialize with my own team. But because we've got this opportunity now, there are lots of chances sort of to get in touch with people across the business. I'm learning more about what the rest of the business does. I'm getting to know different people. And I just think that's all down to how FinTrU has set things up to put people first, and ensure that everyone feels like part of the bigger piece of the jigsaw.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Andrew. So we're going to move to our question and answer section now. You can submit your anonymous questions via the QA function there, but just while they're coming in, we had a few pre-submitted questions, so I'm just going to go through those. So talking to Emma, first of all, you had talked about the regulatory landscape earlier, Emma, but what role does the technology department play within the whole FinTrU company?
Yeah, thanks, Helen, and thanks to whoever submitted the question. So I think technology is central to everything that every organisation does these days, and it's no less true for FinTrU than anywhere else. And as I touched on earlier, there are really two big things that we in the technology team do. One of them is that we support everything that it takes to run a business day to day with solutions across the board there, and that is things from, you know, making sure that there's connectivity between the offices and that the networks work, that there are printers, that everyone has access to technology solutions and end user technology and all that means. For example, the tech team did a really great job early in 2020 of getting everyone moved to remote working very quickly during the initial lockdowns. And as we grow as an organisation, the need for more automation and more solutions in that space grows as well. So I think there's lots of interesting things going on there. And then the other piece is that FinTrU has been massively successful as an organisation, and has really ambitious plans around product development, and the technology team is central to that as well. And I think Andy touched a little bit on it when he spoke earlier. We don't view this as a technology team or the rest of the FinTrU business. We're all together as one FinTrU, looking at this really exciting and interesting problem space and working to bring together the best of our client relationships, our domain knowledge and our technology skills to solve the problems that face our clients day in, day out when they are dealing with what is a massively complicated global regulatory landscape that is constantly changing. And it's quite a challenge for the organisations to keep up.
Okay, great. Thank you, Emma. So we've just received a question here around development, and obviously that is something that is really key to all of us in terms of our own professional growth. So Andy, just turning to you for this question, what development opportunities can I expect within the technology department if I come and work at FinTrU?
Okay, thanks, Helen. Okay, another good question there. So there's a couple of aspects to answering that question. As I mentioned earlier, following the agile methodologies, missed that one, as well as a robust approach to software engineering and having quite complex issues to solve. We're not just looking for generic developer roles, but very specialized ones as well. So when it comes to agile, obviously you'll have your Scrum Master, your product owner, your technical BA, QA, automation, and so on as roles. As far as development goes, we're looking at DevOps, machine learning, data engineers, front end, back end developers, and so on and so on. So given that it's, you know, we're working with quite complicated subject matter, looking at a wide variety of roles there. Additionally, we organize as cross-functional teams, so that exposes the engineers to a breadth of knowledge as well there, and to be able to pick up a lot of things that maybe aren't, you know, usually seen by developers. Now, what is maybe more important is that we provide our engineering teams with an environment not just about delivery, but about continuous personal development as well. So what is in place there We support that by having an annual training budget for each engineer, a set of educational tools that we have across the company. A couple of those are Pluralsight, Udemy, and so on, as well as continuously coaching team members to organize lunch and learns, demos, knowledge transfer sessions, and so on. So to really drive that atmosphere of knowledge transfer effectively, not to have people stick to just one thing to do all day long, if that makes sense. Now as well, we have a clear progression plan for everyone available that gives clarity to engineers to what options they have available to them within FinTrU professionally, and what they need to do exactly to achieve and to move into that next level. Now that next level could be vertical, that could be horizontal. So we do try to have specialized roles, so that, for example, you could be a developer, but then specializing in DevOps, for example, or that could be vertically to senior role or principal engineer, architect, and so on and so forth. I guess to wrap that up, we try to create well-rounded, passionate, and confident engineers, so that they can display a wide set of critical skills. That helps us in retaining talent, but not just that, it brings a lot of diversity to the engineering role as well, as over time people can be moved into different projects and be faced with different problems to solve. So that makes it all very interesting.
Okay, thanks so much. And Andy, you were talking specifically there to the engineering team and the development opportunities within that, which is fantastic to hear. But obviously the technology team has a wide spectrum of roles. We actually just got a question in around specifically with the QA. So feel free, Andy, not just picking a new or Emmett answer as well, in terms of the testing methodologies within QA. Could Andy or Emma speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, I have mentioned Agile a couple of times, so that should give some indication of where we're at. Testing isn't just an afterthought for us. We look into functional and non-functional testing. On all layers, we build coverage, be that unit testing, service testing, integration tests, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's ingrained into SDLC for us as well. Yeah. Okay,
thank you so much. So we're coming to the end of our time with you now, but I think there's a few questions we just wanted to close up with. And for me, in terms of, where you're going to go next in your career and what can I really go to, what you really want to ask someone is, why should I apply for a career in FinTrU? Why should I move and go and work in technology? So Emma, I'll go to you first.
Thanks, Helen. I think I probably end up repeating myself a little bit here from some of the things I said earlier. I think FinTrU is a massively exciting company with very, very ambitious plans and has a track record of delivering against those ambitious plans as well. There's a compelling problem space to work in here. I've worked, as I mentioned at the start of this session, in lots of different domains. RegTech is the domain that I keep coming back to. I find the problems utterly fascinating and very, very difficult to solve, which is something that attracts me as an engineer. And then also some of the things that some of the other guys touched on. So FinTrU as an organisation has a significant ongoing commitment to learning and development. There are career paths for subject matter experts, for individual contributors, and for people managers. There are access to top quality training, both from a technical and functional perspective, and also from a leadership and a management development perspective. There's also regular lunch and learns hosted by people internally to share their own knowledge, and also by external speakers to cover other topics as well. But for me, probably the biggest one is that culture and values piece. And it's something that I saw in the interview process and have experienced every day on my way through the first 4 or 5 weeks here. This week, it's Learning and Development Week. So there have been sessions on goal setting, not just for your professional development goals, but also for personal development goals, and also sessions to help people to understand how they can move forward and take the next step in their career and what it would look like to be promoted to the next level. I've also been involved with our Women in Finance Committee for International Women's Day committee planning for the events that we're going to hold there. We've had sessions around support and resources for lockdown, for people who are homeschooling, for managers and for everyone in the organisation. It's fabulous, our wellbeing event. So lots of people demonstrating what they've been doing to look after themselves in what I think is the darkest and dingiest month of the year, February. And then there are also all of those various different committees. And I think that's lived and breathed every day in this organisation. I think it's one of the things that makes FinTrU really special.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Andrew, turning to you now.
Yeah, what really sold FinTrU to me was that we're essentially building a startup within an already thriving organization. So you don't have that risk that's normally associated with joining a startup, but you do have all the excitement of problem solving and disrupting an industry. You have that culture that a startup brings. And I think, as Emma and Andy have both mentioned, we have the experts in-house, so we don't have to go and do that initial validation of trying to find a user base to do our research. We've got the experts here, we've got the industry knowledge, and we can pull the whole company together to try and focus our efforts onto building products to help serve our customers better. And I think the way we've kind of set it up is everyone who comes in, we're bringing in the best people, so everyone is given a lot of autonomy to use the knowledge and skills that you've got to build in the processes and initiatives to help us all work together in a better way. And getting in at this early stage means we're really getting to define how we work and lay the groundwork for how FinTrU can deliver within the technology space. So for me, it's got all the benefits without the risk associated with startup life, and that's what I love.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Fantastic answers there. And I think if I was going to add my own anecdote, was at the end of a difficult year for many in lockdown, online carol singing with your colleagues has to be seen to be believed. You know, everyone should experience it once in their life. But thank you so much for attending today, and I'm really sorry if we didn't get to your questions. Please do send anything that you would still like to know to our careers@fintru.com, and we'll make sure you'll get a response. We have a wide range of technology career vacancies open at the moment in FinTrU, and all the details on our website, and please just do send any questions you have there or apply through the website as well. You can also be kept up to date with the latest career opportunities within FinTrU. You can sign for our email newsletter and you will just get the automatic updates on that. Thank you so much for attending today, and I hope you have a fantastic afternoon.